So ladies and gentlemen, we are the consulting team of Nankai University from China. I'm the Captain Eric. It's our honor to introduce the E-Square strategy for Finvolution. And our proposal can be divided into 4 parts: overview, enterprise, strategy, and implementation. And first, let's welcome Colin to introduce the background.
Thanks for Eric's introduction. I'm Colin, and I'm going to share you the overview of this case and the analysis about Finvolution. First of all, let's take a look at the policy background. Now, the governments of various countries continuously publishes policies to promote and regulate business. In China, the government regulation is tightened. P2B business development is hindered. In Indonesia and other Southeast Asian countries, the government supports the provision of financial services for the unbanked. Besides that, the Belt and Road policy encourages Chinese companies to inject vitality into the Southeast Asian markets. Then it's about industrial distribution. From our analysis, the competitive environment is relatively loose with huge market prospects. Take China as an example. We draw this figure to show the industrial distribution. We can see that Finvolution is in the 3rd stage, with about 2 to 3 trillion yuan loan balance and over 400 million potential borrowers in China. Then let's talk about demand of these markets. This market gets its drivers. For example, the popularity of mobile commerce, the increasing consumer spending, and the advocacy of inclusive finance. However, there are some resistance for developing these markets, and many of them comes from the differences between China and other Southeast Asian countries. They are the low smartphone penetration, little disposable income, and the lack of national credit systems. Overall speaking, the demand is strong, but the special circumstances of Southeast Asian countries may increase the risk. Part 2 is an analysis about our company Finvolution. Here are listed the company's products, demand side, and so on. It strategically focuses on serving borrowers between ages of 20 and 40 because the young generation are more receptive to internet financial services, and is poised to become the major driving force of the world's consumer finance markets. Besides that, they had seized fascinating new loans with funding from individual investors on the platform since 2019. They improved the business model through acquisition of better quality borrowers and changing investors from individual investors to industrial funding partners. The company developed very well because it has many strengths. The core competitiveness is its strong risk control ability. Besides that, we have concluded 4 aspects. The accumulation of database has become a core asset to this company, and their core technology can reduce risks and costs. Their clean and convenient application attracts many users, and the license from another country allows you to preempt the overseas markets. From this case, we can know this company have some targets. They want to know how to enter new markets, and they're chasing a business model flexible to the changing regulations and the policies. In the following part, Eric and Susan will show our strategies to you, aiming to solve these problems and reach the goal. That's my part. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Now it's time for Eric and me to introduce our strategy for Finvolution. As just mentioned by Colin, during its way to the world, Finvolution has to consider its development in 2 dimensions. The first is expanding to the new market, and the second is enhancing itself. Since Finvolution has received the license in Indonesia, there is no doubt that Indonesia will be the first step of its international expansion. With a similar social background and market situation, other countries in Southeast Asia will be the next, and then other parts of the world. After getting into a market, Finvolution should take 3 issues into consideration, which are policy uncertainty, more service and products, and efficient improvement. These will affect its long-term development and preparation in advance will enhance its competitive power. We call the whole strategy as E-square strategy. First of all, I'd like to introduce some of the expanding parts. In the first step, when it sets up the aim as developing in Indonesia, the key problem faced by FinVolution is how to make risk management. To solve that, we suggested that FinVolution should collect data from institution investors and borrowers and take 3 stages tactics to improve its technology, which will be suitable for the new market. Before collecting data, FinVolution needs to do promotion to attract borrowers and negotiate with institution investors to get cooperation. To borrowers, as a way of promotion, advertisement can be something like how fast it is to get loans and how low the interest rate is. To institution investors, FinVolution should demonstrate its high efficiency and low transaction cost in negotiation. Together with its advanced technology on data collection and usage in model modifying. After having customers to borrow money, FinVolution has to divide the people into 2 groups, borrowers with credit records and in the past and borrowers without credit records. For the ones with records, FinVolution should get their previous records from cooperative institutions and require these people to add more necessary information to support their reputation. Then FinVolution can provide loans for them and record their repayment performance. With this individual data, FinVolution needs to continuously modify its assessing model. This will be detailed in the next page. For people without records, they have to create an account first. It can be both online on the website or offline at the agency. No matter how they get the account, they must do offline authentication by stock from FinVolution. The process includes, but not limited to, identification, asset certification, occupation analysis, and cash flow. After finishing authentication, FinVolution can provide smaller loans to them and record their repayment performance as the same. This data can also be used in modifying assessing model. Moreover, with a good performance of repayment, their credit level can be upgraded. In the past, the latter part of the people would find it difficult to get loans because there was no evidence to trust them. But with the technology from FinVolution, they can take the first step and FinVolution will promote their conception of inclusive finance.
Thanks, Susan. Then we come to the technical part. As we know, we have accumulated quite a lot of experience in China, but we can't directly apply it to other markets. What we should do is to use this experience to adjust the technical system, especially the machine learning system for Indonesia. And we will mainly complete it through 3 steps. The first is to use open data like regional GDP per capita to match with the data we have in China and to build a rudimentary model. And then after we have collected a certain amount of data from Indonesia, we need to train and test, also collaborate the model we have established in the first step. Meanwhile, we can also correct and apply the parameters and distribution function of customer pattern accordingly. In the first step, in the final step, and when we collect abundant data to enlarge the database in Indonesia, we can establish a mature identification system. Consequently, it will then be easy for us to reduce default rate and other risks to a satisfying level. And this is how we deal with the data and technical problem to ensure the operation of risk management. And the developing strategy to a new market will be almost the same when FinVolution is opening up a new market in another country. First, do promotion to borrowers and cooperate with local institutions, and along with the data collection and technology adjustment. Then, with the obtained information and estimation, ensure precise risk management to provide better product and service. And that's a part of expansion. Then comes a part of enhancement. We can say it is to expand internal space in the expansion part, What we're going to do next is to improve their business model to allow the company become more sustainable in the future. First of all, I think the most important is to deal with unstable policies and regulations, not only in China, but also in other countries and regions. From an absolute point of view, this is somehow inevitable. However, we can still take some strategies to perceive the direction of policies in advance to some extent and be prepared for that. What we hope to do is to achieve a localized company, be somehow integrated into the local society, and specifically by cooperating with the local universities and the government, we build such a platform to study the financial situation of the society by using the systematic knowledge of the universities so as to help the government in policy-making decisions in the field of finance. On the one hand, it certainly helps us to better mitigate the policy risk. However, we also hope to fulfill our social responsibility in this way. For example, through the research center, we can better identify social financial risk and help the society to design corresponding crisis management ahead of time. We believe this will indeed help maintain a social financial sustainability. So on the other hand, we will improve our products and service from two perspectives. First, we will increase product variety by cooperating with more types of financial institutions. We can not only be limited to financing business with the commercial banks, we can expand our platform to other institutions. I believe it will really be a good try to build a platform between institutions like insurance companies and customers through our data and technical advantages. And on the other hand, we can provide more diversified products for different groups of people, such as providing college students with a customized mechanism. Finally, what we hope to achieve in the long run is that when our business grows larger, we may be able to expand to the field of business to business market through our accumulated experience in the business to customer market. At that time, we will improve the efficiency and security of our data control through our blockchain technology. And that's all for my part. It's welcome Ray to introduce a part of implementation.
Well, thank you, Eric. And now let's come to the risk and mitigation part. So there are two major risks. First is the robustness of the risk control system is not ensured. Well, what I mean is that Zola, our risk control mechanism, can at least to some extent mitigate the default rate, but whether it could reach our expectation remain questioning. As most of the borrowers are free of mortgage and our risk control system strongly rely on whether a machine learning mechanism works. And our MML models work only when there are a large number of customers, since the assumptions over probability only work under large samples. So to deal with that, we will try our best to expand customer bases, and specifically, we should focus on small amount of loaning, which potentially brings the larger number of customers, and that is where the large number holds. And the second risk is the potential competition from the local competitors and foreign competitors like us. For example, the Lufax, who also get the license in Indonesia. So to deal with these two different cases, we will apply two different strategies. So for the local competitors, we are more advanced in technology, so there's not too much to worry about. But well, for the foreign competitors, we will create a heterogeneity in our product. We are working with scholars to study the behavior of customers in Indonesia and provide more localized service. Besides, we're also keeping track of our competitors' finance product design to ensure that we can make a difference. Now let's come to the finance part. We only present our Indonesia branches here. There are two major concerns: the reduction of default rate and the transformation of our business structure. As we build all our estimation for profit margin based on expectation, our prediction of profit margin depends on reduction process of default rate from 20% to 3% in 5 years. Moreover, our business structure will mainly influence the total revenue. In the first year, we will mainly focus on the fintech empowerment business, which will account for 95% of the total business in Indonesia in 2021. When in 2025, we want the fintech service to be our main business in Indonesia, reaching 80% of our business. Based on these two assumptions, we build our chart for revenue and profit margin prediction. There are three details that I want to illustrate here. So firstly, from 2021 to 22, the revenue tripled in our prediction. That's because we start our structural transformation in the end of 2021. So there will be a rapid business expansion initially. And secondly, we see that the profit margin started to decline in the second year. That's because more of our business are transforming to fintech service and while our expected default rate are not well under control yet, so it will lead to a great job in the profit margin. And third, we may also see that the profit margin rate in the final 2 years and tend to converge at 20% of the profit margin, and the default rate will be stabilized at 3% in the final two years. Well, now finally the timetable. So we list 4 major business in here in our timeline. So first is about how long our ML model can be settled. In general, we start data collection in the first quarter in 2021 and start to set the rudimentary ML model in the fourth quarter, mainly based on the model used in China. Of course, the model might not be correct. There will be 3 collaborations in the following years in each year to reach a final goal of us, the 3% of the default rate, just like in China. And next, for the market strategy, it's a detailed process of our transformation of our business structure. One thing I need to mention that we also plan to enter insurance market in 2024 as an extension of our business. For our future further global expansion, we also plan to enter other Southeast Asian countries market in 2023, and it will relatively take short time. It will only take about 2 to 3 years for us to establish our business there because we have some experience established in Indonesia. And we also plan to enter Asia Pacific market of other countries in 2024, but it's going to be a long-term project. And finally, the construction of the research communication platform, it takes about a year to fully construct it, nothing too much to talk about. And another thing that we want to mention is that we will plan to pay more attention to the blockchain technology and applying it to the supply chain finance and expand our business from 2C to both 2C and 2B in the further future. However, this strongly depends on our performance in the 2C market. So in the following 5 years, so it's not fully determined yet. So that will be my part.
Thanks, Ray. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. We're pleased to answer any question you may have.
Thank you, team from Nankai University for a very comprehensive presentation. I'm now looking at my colleagues to see if we have the 15-minute timer. I would now like to invite our judges to ask you some questions. Judges, please go ahead.
Let me start. I noticed that you mentioned earlier about expanding into or partnering up with other institutions, especially I think you had a star with insurance company. Can you tell me how your products will apply in the context of insurance?
Okay, so let me see, it is in insurance company, it's here. Okay, so we think what we are doing here is about financing business. We already have create a bridge between the commercial banks and the customers. And so we think we already have experience in the data collection, especially we have abundant data in customer, and we know what's their job, what they do, their cash flow, and whether they are healthy or not. We have a lot of information about them, so we can base on that to cooperate with more institutions like fund company, like insurance company. And I know that Finvolution has already cooperated with fund company, and I think they can also cooperate with the insurance company, because insurance company is such a company which is based largely on their customers' information to decide what's their insurance rate, or how they make the deal with their customer. I think that's a job about data and data processing, and that's what Finvolution is doing, and doing quite well in the field of financing between commercial banks and customers. And may I answer the question? Or?
Yep. So you're, do you foresee any issues? In sharing with data with insurance companies? I mean, from a lending perspective, there's probably regulations that, okay, you have consumer reports or credit reports that's required before the loan application, etc. For insurance, there's no, if somebody buys a policy with us, we don't necessarily need to check the credit report, right? So how I guess a supplement question: how does the insurance company make use of your data that you collected? I guess, but fundamentally, do you foresee any challenge in sharing that data that you have collected, which is very powerful, obviously, to share with with the insurance company?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention one point just now, because I think it is not only about the data, it's also about the technology we process the data. How do we use the data?
Yeah.
The machine learning system, and we are experienced in that we can use also adjust the model and somehow the system to better apply our experience in other with cooperation with like insurance company. And I think there is something actually the same with the insurance company and the commercial banks. What the data and information they need is somehow there is some part of the data would be the same, but also we need to know, whether they are healthy, whether they have already attended another insurance company. That's the data we need to collect in the future. But I think already we have a certain kind of data will be the same, and also we have the technology which will be a very good advantage for us to reach the field of insurance company.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify your business model. Basically, I believe institutional investors like the fund companies and insurance companies are sort of like your partners, right? So your B2C angle doesn't change, right? You're still primarily serving like just retail consumers, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we primarily serve the. We're still wanting to major in B2C, and that's our fundamental job.
Got it. And then just to take the point that another judge like Dennis has mentioned, how would you plan to handle like data privacy, especially when it comes to cross regions and cross countries, the rules and regulations between China and the other markets, could be quite different. How do you plan to handle that?
So let me answer your question. Yes, we do have a successful experience in China, and using with the database in China, the Finvolution can solve most problems in China. But please turn to page maybe 10. Yeah. Okay. No, page 10. 12 maybe. Yeah, so in this page, I have just mentioned that how we get the data, and you can see that we divided our customers into two groups. The first group of the people who have credit records before, and we can use their data to build our initial model. Yeah, we have the model at China, and with this data, we can modify the model to more suitable to the local market. Yeah, and with more people without the credit records, we can use their data to continuously modifying our assessing model. So with all this data, we can finally maybe mature our system in the future. will mean that we will use the data in China, but we will actually use the maybe almost the same model as in China, and we use the data here to make a more localized model.
Yeah, my question on like data privacy, do you think there will be issues, if you apply the model that you have been using in China into other countries? Do you think there will be other legal issue or privacy issue as potential risk to your business?
Are we losing them?
Yeah, maybe. If
Sorry,
I could,
maybe.
maybe let me just sort of reiterate. Like I'm just.
Sorry, there might be something wrong with one of our members' video. Sorry, really sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. Let me just sort of repeat. Let me reiterate and repeat. Like my question is on data privacy. If you adopt your the same business model as the way that you handle data in China, and then if you apply that into other countries, do you see potential legal risk, when it comes to like the handling of the data, because of the different regulations? And how do you plan to come about that, right, in handling that?
I'm sorry, so there might be something wrong with one of the members' video, and so I will take his job to answer this question. Okay, so I think basically we have two ways to mitigate the risk about regulation and privacy, and maybe we have such a research center to help us to become a more localized company, to know how to learn about the local policy, and that's one aspect. And also, I think we have the technology of blockchain. It is somehow you can only use the data, but you can't read the data. You can use the data, but you can't know what is the data really is. And through this technology, through the technology of blockchain, and we think we can ensure the safety and make sure that there will not be anything leak or in this data processing and transfer process. Because it is, let me, okay.
I think that's good. I think you have covered, what I've wanted to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I could pass it on to the next judge.
My question is related to finance. On the finance presentation by me, I think you mentioned 2021, this year, 20% default rate, and then 2025, 3% default rate. Sorry, I'm not getting what this rate is referred to. I think maybe my question is the revenue generated. Is that I can see, because I think you use the bar chart, how I can see the profit and loss for your projection. And also you mentioned in your time frame in 2023, you will roll out to the Southeast Asia countries. What will be your next target country? And also, if this you already include a rollout in 2023, how that reflect in your finance projection? That's my question.
I'm not sure where we have been reached.
Sorry, can you?
Yeah, I just been back to the conference. There's some connection problem. It's not stable.
Yes, Ryan, why don't you turn off your video so that will stabilize?
All right. So I would just simply turn on my video. So, am my voice clear?
It's okay.
All right, fine. Can you please rephrase questions? Sorry.
Sure, no problem. On the finance presentation, just want to understand a little bit further. I think you mentioned 2021, 20% default rate, and then 2025, 3% default rate. Just bear me, I do not understand this. And also talking about maybe from the management perspective, any, for example, projection of the profit. I guess you use the bar chart, how I can see the profit and loss. And also in your time frame, in 2023, you mentioned you roll out to the Southeast Asia countries. Now, which will be your next target country, as well as if you will roll out in 2023, how that will reflect in your financial projection here?
Well, this chart only includes Indonesia. This chart only includes Indonesia. That's the first thing I want to talk about. And you mentioned first. Let me answer about the default rate. So the default rate, we give it a relatively high default rate tolerance in the 2021. We allow that there might be 20% of our customers to not be able to pay back their loaning. So it's relatively really a high number to ensure that our estimation is on a conservative basis. And then with our effort in the machine learning model setting, we will generally increase our technology in the identification of the credit background of the customers. So eventually in 2025, with 3 times of calibration, it will finally allow us to have a 3% of the default rate, because it is going to be some technology reasons. And what I mean the expectation here is that we calculate the expected revenue, like 80% that they are paid back, and 20% they will actually cannot pay back. So we just count the expectation, count the main value eventually. So it's a relatively conservative estimation. And secondly, you mentioned about the Asia Pacific part. The next target is gonna be some countries like similar to the Indonesia, like the Vietnam and the Philippines. I have noticed that they already have some little business in the Vietnam or the Philippines, but it's not actually really established yet. So after the Indonesia, it will be Vietnam or Philippines or some country that's similar to us. But the plan is very possibly to be changing, because the situation, the political situation of different countries may be evolving, and the general economic condition is also changing rapidly every year. So it's strong. So we cannot just simply prevent a finance chart for the 3 years later and of the other markets, because we are not even settled completely yet. We just plan to that we are going to step into the other market, and this would be strongly depend on the total situation. So here in the finance part, we only present Indonesia as the basic example, and the other cases will be very similar case, because the southern eastern country has very similar reality. So it can be a good exemplar, I would say.
So for this slide, how can see the profits for each year or the loss?
No, it's the profit. Profit. Yeah.
How I can see that? Sorry.
Wait, what do you mean?
For example, 2022.
Yeah.
Is that we will have the profit of how much?
20%. No, the bar is about the revenue, and the line is about the profit margin. No.
So the number you show, sorry, the number you show.
20%.
No. The bar chart you show, for example, number, right? Inside, what's the number represent?
The number inside the bars are the revenue in million US dollar. And the line, the dot, the 20% stands for the profit margin.
Okay, but you have the operating costs, right? Expenses.
Sorry, I have to stop the Q&A here. We've already taken all our time up. Thank you, judges, for the questions. Thank you, students, for the answers. We will now move the students to a waiting room, and we will call you back in a few minutes to receive feedback directly from the judges. So, students, please leave this room and move to the waiting room, and we will see you in a few minutes.